In today's video, I'm gonna talk about fishing in muddy water. And I'm gonna talk about a few tips and tricks that I've learned over the years to help me just catch more fish in mud. And not only more fish, but big fish. I think that during times of the year where we have muddy water, it is some of the best big fish fishing that you will experience. In today's video, I want to talk a little bit more about that. Now, real quick, before we get into the video, this video is brought to you by my apparel company, Finn Fishing. Guys, I was running a sale for February. If you bought a USA made sun shirt, you get a free pair of sun gloves, but I'm actually pretty much sold out of all the gloves except for the 2X size. So if you are a 2X size hand, you can still take advantage of this sale. But for all of you who maybe want to buy a sun shirt and there's no gloves available, I have a big bin, actually a couple bins full of just random lures that I'm going to be just putting in the package. So right now, if you buy one of my USA made sun shirts, I'm gonna put a random lure from this bin. I know I have, Berkeley Nessie that I can give away. I have some bounty fish packages. I even have some free line. So no matter what, if you buy a USA made sun shirt for the rest of this month and don't select a pair of gloves, you are going to get a free mystery lure. And it's a great thing to help support this channel. All right, let's get into muddy water fishing. Now, when it comes to mud, this is something that we're all about to probably experience a lot of, because right now it's kind of the end of winter. We're coming into spring. We're starting to see a lot of rain in areas, storms that pop up, and that storms and all that rain is going to cause a lot of muddy water. And it may not blow out a lake completely, but a lot of times it will muddy sections of that lake. And over the course of the last several years, my view of muddy water has changed a lot. I used to not really like mud, if I'm being 100% honest. I would see muddy water, and a lot of times I ran from it. But then, like 8 years ago or so, I went through this muddy water period of time where it brought the biggest fish in the lake to the bank. And it was the craziest thing that I'd seen for like a 2-3 week period, where literally every fish that you would catch was way bigger than average, because this lake that got really muddy was typically really clear. But all of a sudden there was these big bags being weighed in, big fish being weighed in, and it was really, really crazy. And I know that a lot of guys that I've talked to have experienced kind of a very similar thing on the lakes that they fish. And so that's why I have really kind of changed my mind when it comes to fishing mud. I really like to fish the muddy water now. Now, one of the biggest things, especially in this late winter, early springtime, that you can do is fish muddy water towards the end of the day. This is just something that I've seen to be the best thing. As most of us know, muddy water will warm up faster than clear water. But I think that there's a definite evening bite when it comes to fishing muddy water this time of the year. And there was a lake that's really close to me. I remember a couple years ago, I was fishing it in the springtime a lot. And every time I'd go to the lake was like 48 to 50 in the morning across the entire lake, no matter if you were fishing clear water or in the muddy water. But by the end of the day, that muddy water was on average probably 7 to 10 degrees warmer than the clear water. Like, it really would warm up. And it is amazing when you have that warmer water, how much bait fish will follow that warm water right up into it. And with that bait comes a lot of bass. And so during the springtime, I like to fish muddy water, but I usually wait until the afternoon. Now, I'm not saying that you can't go up and catch them early in the day, but I have seen in a number of different lakes that I will stick to the clear water in the mornings and spend my afternoon in the mud, and that's what helps me to just kind of catch big bass in both situations. Now, another really important thing that you should understand is that a lot of times when you are catching fish in mud, I really like to focus on cover. Bass really seem to get extremely tight to cover when they are in the mud. So I don't always spend a lot of times fishing more open water areas. I like to make sure that I am throwing at cover. Maybe that's a dock. Maybe that's a laydown log. Maybe it's a stump that I can see. I really like to get my baits right in the cover. And for me, I know it's you know, a bass's senses underwater are extremely good, but I think it's kind of like if you were in a room and somebody absolutely turns the lights off on you, the first thing that I know that I do is I'm trying to find a wall. I'm trying to find a wall, I'm trying to find an object, something that can kind of help position myself in the room. And if you guys have ever been in muddy water, like swimming in muddy water, I used to do this a lot as a kid. If you went like 3 or 4 foot below the surface and open your eyes, it is pitch black. It is completely dark. That mud completely cuts any sunlight that's coming down into the water. And so, like I said, a bass's senses are very good, but I think kind of like a bass and kind of like a human, they just like to get close to an object. They like to be really near an object. So I think that this is important because, man, if I'm flipping a jig, I'm gonna get this thing buried in the cover. I wanna get this thing way up in the cover. If I'm throwing a spinner bait, a square bill, you know, all great muddy water baits, I am getting this and I'm hitting this bait off a cover. I think that is really, really important. You would be surprised at just how tight these fish want this bait and how much they want it inside the cover. I think that is a really big tip. Now, the third thing that I want to talk about when it comes to fishing muddy water is that finesse lures can still play. I know for a lot of us, myself included, when I see muddy water, the very first thing that I'm thinking is all those baits like I talked about earlier, jigs, spinner baits, chatter baits even, square bills, rattling, noise-making lures. And those baits can do very well in the mud. But if you are fishing highly pressured bodies of water, whether that's in the spring or in the summer, but definitely I've seen this a lot in the summer, if you're fishing really, really high pressured bodies of water, don't be afraid to break out that finesse gear, to break out a small drop shot, even a Ned rig. Like bass will absolutely still be able to find those finesse lures in that muddy water. And if you are fishing behind guys or fishing around guys and everybody is fishing really hard knocking, big thumping lures, that finesse gear is going to outfish those baits in those highly pressured situations. And I've talked a little bit more about that on the channel, but I think it's just really important reminder that finesse baits will work even in the mud. So guys, we're getting ready to experience a lot of mud. Hopefully this will help you to catch a little bit more fish or a little bit bigger fish in the mud. If you guys want to watch my most recent video, I'm going to leave it linked right here, and I will see you guys tomorrow.